The Torah, the oldest copies of the Jewish text, and I assume modern day ones too, I'm not for sure, were written with the musical notation in there. You know, little dots and signs and stuff, so that you would know how to sing it, so that everybody would know how to sing it, because it was meant to be performed as a liturgical whole group type thing. You weren't just reading it for yourself. And it also helped to stick that in your head, so you could memorize long sections of whatever it was that you were supposed to be memorizing. It was that way in the Christian church too. The liturgies, even today, of the Eastern Orthodox Church, they almost never talk. They sing everything in the churches that most of us would go to. If you say the Nicene Creed, you're going to say, I believe in God the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth, and all that is visible and invisible. But there, you're going to sing it, and probably in Greek, and I'm not going to try it. But and that was the way it was even in the Western churches. And then we began reading things and trying to take the music out, because I guess it was too Catholic-y, I'm not really sure. So that we became, it all got separated. If you sang a hymn, you said a prayer. You got the sermon preached to you, you read out of the Bible, and then you sang another hymn. And they were two separate things. And that was the way that our education began to develop as well. As, you know, art on one side, learning and reading and all that kind of stuff on the other side. But it's not the way that we're meant to work. It's not the way that all the ancients were able to memorize these great tracts of information, because it's just hard to do. It's hard to just say a line after a line after a line over and over again forever and ever. All right, so one method or one reason of singing...
Please pardon this interruption. Jamar Bellamy, if you will report to the front office, please, at this time. Jamar Bellamy, thank you.
Was to help them remember things. The other reason, and I just found this out this year, is because it whets their appetite for whatever it is that they're about to learn. For instance, this year I decided to read, when we were learning about Mesopotamia, the Epic of Gilgamesh. I tried it last year, failed miserably. This year, I had written a version of the story, and I decided to sing it with them first. And it worked brilliantly in ways that I was not even expecting. Long ago and far away between two streams lived a guy named Gilgamesh who was a king. In ancient Uruk he began, 2/3 God and 1/3 man. So listen to the tale I tell, gods and monsters, death and hell, and how his friend and he who fell once upon a time. Gilgamesh the hero wished that he could build a wall, and so forth and so on. The whole story here in musical form, and what it ended up doing was making them want to hear the story. When you start reading the epic, I don't know how many of y'all had to read that in college or high school and whatever, like Ishtar, Anunnaki, Enkidu, what they was talking about, I was just done with it. But this gave them a framework to attach the story to, and it whetted their appetite for wanting to hear it. When we got down to the song, they were dying to know who Humbubba was. They were dying to hear about the fight between Gilgamesh and Enkidu and the Bull of Heaven. They wanted to hear the whole thing. I will admit that, you know, when he got down to uck-pistick-est, they were starting to lose interest a bit. But for the most part, I had them, and I did have them interested enough to finish the whole story. And they will be able to recall all of that story through the song, as long as they, you know, every once in a while just pull it back up. And the song, you know, next time they hear When Johnny Comes Marching Home Again, or The Ants Go Marching One by One, they're going to hear Gilgamesh. So that's going to bring remembrances of that to their mind. Okay, so this is one of my left-brain slides. Does this work? Okay, I have, as I said, had mixed results. I know for sure that it can work, because you guys have already showed me just today. When I started singing the Schoolhouse Rock song, at least 4 of you began singing along with me immediately. when I was talking about the ABC thing, you all knew exactly what I was talking about, because that's how we remember something that we learned when we were 5 years old. You remember all the old songs, and if all of those old songs had information that you needed, then you would be able to pull that information out of those. That's number one, though, is that you have to teach them how to pull the information out. You can't just teach the song. They have to know how to use it, and so it's like a two-part process. For instance, when I'm doing the nations of the world, I don't expect them to know exactly where every country is. I don't, and I'm not going to learn it. It's just, sorry. But I do expect them to know at least what continent it's on. And if they know that, then they know more than probably 90% of Americans. If you can sing 100 nations and then place them on the correct continent, you're in a really good place if you're trying to find it. I've had many, many students come to me and talk to me about how, oh, last year, you know, I still remember the song, United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, yeah. But they still like it, they still sing it. And I tell them, even my most problematic students, and you know who I'm talking about, still remember those songs. This year, I found out something interesting, which was when we had to do that thing where you laid out your student population and what their races were and what the grades were and all that. I found out that my high-risk, usually low-achieving students were doing remarkably well. The African American and Hispanic students were doing at least on par, and sometimes better, as a group, than all of my other students, Asian and Caucasian, and any other kind of shows. And I think, I'm not for sure, I could just be weird, but I think that it's because music is a universally accessible means of learning. And so maybe they're not used to dragging it out of a textbook, kicking and screaming, but this way they can do it. All right, resources. You may not play guitar, you may not play piano, you may not sing, but you may want to use this stuff. So here is, and I did not design these I just threw them up there for students to use. So I look really goofy in all of these because I don't have like the YouTube face yet. I'll get it down at some point. But you can access about 10 or 15 of my songs on YouTube by typing in this word, Herveus, and that brings up my channel. And then, I just found this out this year, because YouTube is blocked, you can download them using this website, idesktop.tv. It's free to register. Just make sure you keep your registration information. You can download the videos for free, bring them to school, show them whenever you want. Just keep them on a flash drive or something like that. In the last class, somebody told me another cool resource, zamzar.com. And with that, you can change any file into an audio file. MP3, so that they can play it on their iPods, or something that you can click on from a PowerPoint presentation. It's got like 10 different types of audio files that you can turn it into. The second one, and I just have to point this out. Okay,
it also converts to video files too.
It also converts, okay,
so type in the URL from YouTube into that same program, it'll upload it as an MP4 or whatever.
So these are two, I mean, even if you never use one of my songs, there's a lot of cool educational stuff that we can't get to unless you go through the firewall sites. This is a way to get to them. I have a wiki. Okay. This is, I keep almost all of the songs that I've done so far that I've uploaded to YouTube are here, the lyrics, and then most of them have no